Welcome back to Fast RC, everybody. My name is Ryan, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the Traxxas Slash two-wheel drive Ultimate. Got it right here behind me. Let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so the first things we're going to talk about in my quest to make an ultimate two-wheel drive Slash is the body and the chassis. So you can see here, I went with a high center of gravity chassis. To me, this is really subjective, depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your Slash. In my opinion, I like the high center of gravity Slash just because it gives you a lot more body roll characteristics when handling. But if you're trying to race your Slash, you'd probably want to go with the LCG version. It's going to handle much better on a track and in high grip surfaces. But like I said, for this particular build, I was just trying to go for more of the scale look, more of the body roll action that the Slash gives you, and the high center of gravity chassis does really good for that. And then looking at the body, this is an ECX Torment body. I'm not even really sure if they make that truck anymore, but I've had this body for about 12 years now, and it was the first body that I've ever painted, and believe it or not, it's still running to this day. It has some road rash and some dents, but it still works, and it hasn't completely fallen apart on me yet. But of course, I'll probably get some other bodies and some other Slash bodies and things like that down the road. And speaking of the body, let's talk about the body mounts. So when I first bought this truck a couple years ago, this is the VXL version of the chassis and everything. So it's essentially a Traxxas VXL. It did not come with the clipless body mounts at that point. So I went ahead and got some Proline body mounts to mount up the body, which you see here with the screw caps. Nice and convenient and much better than using the cotter pins. Alright, let's talk about electronics next. So first up, we'll go over the motor and ESC combo. So for this build, I went with a Castle Sidewinder system. Don't quote me on this, but I think this is a 3800 kV or 4000 kV motor. Either way, this thing is plenty fast. I actually like it a lot better than the VXL system personally. It's buttery smooth on takeoff. Even though it's sensorless, it's still very smooth being a Castle motor. And just overall very happy with the Sidewinder setup. I know nowadays you can get those for around maybe the 160-ish up to 200 range, depending on which model of Castle setup you're getting. I know they run a little bit expensive, but overall I've been very happy with this build and I've owned this setup, this motor and ESC setup for, gosh, well over 8 years, getting close to 10 years probably. And I've never once had an issue with it. Still running to this day. So while it's not a new system, I can definitely speak to the reliability of the Castle system, and I would highly recommend it. Next electronic piece to talk about, let's talk about the servos. So I went with really nothing special in this truck. I have a Traxxas Metal Gear servo that I actually took out of my TRX-6. I know it's not really performance, but when I was trying to put this ultimate build together, one of the main things that I was really trying to focus on was overall just reliability of the truck. And while this servo isn't the fastest and doesn't have the most amount of torque, albeit it does have more torque than like a stock Slash servo, this has metal gears in it and is overall just really reliable. So while the performance of it isn't the best, I have been really happy with how this servo performs and haven't had any issues as far as braking or anything like that. So I'll give a thumbs up to the servo so far. Last thing on the electronics, let's talk about the radio transmitter. So I'm using Old Faithful here. I have an Airtronics M12 that I've had for almost 10 years. Got multiple receivers for this radio, and so I actually use the same transmitter for multiple vehicles. And so I said, why not? We'll throw it into this Ultimate Slash two-wheel drive. And I would say this transmitter is absolutely overkill for what it is, especially since I'm not racing, since I'm not going to be messing with any of the advanced settings or anything like that. It's mainly just the basher, but why not? It's an ultra fast radio. It's been super reliable, never once had an issue with it. And if I do want to get into racing or mess around with any of the advanced features of it, I absolutely can do that. All right, up next is suspension. So we're going to talk about the shocks first. So no way I was going to make an Ultimate Slash two-wheel drive and keep the stock shocks. So ended up upgrading these to Proline Power Stroke shocks. Overall, really happy with them. Very reliable shocks. Nice aluminum body, aluminum threaded shocks that you can adjust. You can buy different types of springs depending on which surface you're driving on. Overall, just very happy with them. Last thing on the suspension I'm going to talk about is the A-arms. So in the front, I actually did upgrade the A-arms to RPM offset extended A-arms. I talked about this in my last video about Traxxas Slash, but I'll cover it again. These extended A-arms actually are kind of cool because they extend your offset or extend the length of the A-arm up front, which allows you to keep the same wheel offset from front to back, where a normal Slash two-wheel drive, you'd get those, your front wheels would have a different offset compared to your rear wheels. So those extended front A-arms from RPM Racing Definitely really nice upgrade to have. They add reliability as well with the type of plastics they use. But just overall for me, it was not just reliability, but also the convenience factor of just being able to run the same wheel and tire from front to back. And since we're on that point, let's go ahead and talk about wheels and tires. So I went with Traxxas branded wheels and tires. These are the Kumho Road Venture tires in an S1 compound, so they got plenty of grip on the road and in the dirt. Actually, probably too much grip on the road for this type of truck, but in the dirt, they're perfect. Not much else to say about these wheels and tires other than, like I mentioned, I have the extended front A-arms, so I'm actually running Slash 4x4 offsets front and rear on this truck. So it's nice, I can actually swap and rotate between the front and the rear. But otherwise, that's all I got for wheels and tires. All right, just some final thoughts. So, like I said, this is my version of the Traxxas Slash Ultimate 2-wheel drive. Is it perfect, or does it meet everybody's taste when it comes to Traxxas Slash? Probably not, especially since I'm using a high center of gravity chassis. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I really was trying to focus not so much on racing performance and cornering performance to say, but really trying to go for the scale look. Like, I love the way the Slash drives in the dirt and on the street. I love the body roll. I like that realistic kind of scale suspension action that the Slash is known for. And really probably the first thing that pulled me into the hobby, you know, being short course trucks and how scale they are and just the way the suspension action moves. I don't know, I guess I'm just kind of nerd out on that kind of stuff. But for me, this is the Ultimate Slash. It's actually not a finished product. There's a couple more things I got to do to it, such I got to upgrade the hinge pins in the rear, keep those from backing out, and some other things like that. I could probably upgrade the servo at some point, get something a little bit faster. But for now, I'm really happy with it. I like the wheels and tires. It's just a simple setup. I'll probably get a different body at some point, take that old clunker off of it, even though I love it. But yeah, that's it for my Traxxas Slash. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash the like button, like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. I'd really appreciate it if you enjoy these kind of videos. Also too, if you're interested in more Slash 2-wheel drive content, I got a couple videos that are going to pop up here on the screen. I'm going to talk about stuff that I like about the Traxxas Slash and stuff that I don't like about the Traxxas Slash, if you're interested in that. So go ahead and click on one of those two videos, and I'll see you in the next one.